In this podcast series presented by Boss, we journey into the lives of inspiring creators, artists, and athletes, unearthing the pivotal moments that shape them into the unique bosses and leaders that they are today. Join us as we go behind the boss. In this episode, I meet Willie Maldonado, co-founder of Milk Studios in Los Angeles. We dive into his world to get an inside scoop on all things LA, why accepting personal defeat can be a good thing, and more. Willie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. You are known for being a true Los Angelino. Is that how I say it? You are
Sure.
Cut you and you bleed LA. Is that true?
For sure.
Tell me a bit about being Mr. LA.
Being Mr. LA.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just LA's it's a difficult place to get it right for people that aren't here, that aren't from here.
Yeah.
You know, and also you have to be here for a while to really understand it.
Yeah.
And really kind of see all the different kind of like times that it's gone through, because it really has changed.
Yeah. You have seen areas and everything change in the time that you've been here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, but like the rest of the world also, it kind of changes with it, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's so great about it. Somehow, you know, it feels like it's in some way connected to everything because, you know, it just seems like people all want to be here. They want a little piece of it.
Yeah. Let's just talk a bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Laurel Canyon, you know, in the early 70s. You know, it was kind of like a hippie kid, you know, living up in Laurel Canyon with, you know, people that were all in entertainment and kind of liberal, open, you know, views on things. And, you know, when I was a kid, I used to ride a moped down to the Sunset Strip to, you know, go see a gig at the Starwood.
What was LA like then?
It was definitely more dangerous than what it is now, I have to say. Everyone's all, you know, like a lot of times people are always talking about things. They always refer to like, oh, that place was great back then. And I always say, you know, LA is the best now. It really is. You know, just there's more things to do, more people here. I think it's great. But anyways, back then it was, you know, you had to work a little harder to be social and have fun, you know? You had no cell phones. I mean, I was here before MTV. You had to go and you know, if you wanted to see a rock star, you had to actually go to a gig, go to a concert and get out. It was fun. It was great. It was definitely fun to grow up here.
Yeah. So can you comment on the difference between Los Angeles and New York?
New York is, first of all, New York is the best city in the world. I'm just telling you.
Like, after all that.
It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. New York is just socially rich, you know? I don't know. It's hard because now LA is changing, you know? LA is catching up, you know, with a lot of things.
Yeah.
To me, it's like this vacation spot where you can work. There's definitely some type of sense here of, you know, it's weather and luxury. Whenever people are talking about LA, somehow there's always a little weather or some little luxury element kind of mentioned in the conversation.
Before you kind of went on your career journey, was there any advice anyone gave you when you were younger that's like really stuck with you?
I mean, my parents were always like really supportive, you know, but they were like very open-minded and liberal. But really kind of the direction is, look, we support whatever you want to do, but make sure that you're really good at it. And I kind of always felt that way, you know, that whatever path you choose, just try to really be great at it. You know, I could never understand people like why you'd want to go to work the next day and just like be mediocre or not try to be the best. I mean, it seems kind of boring. To try to be great at something just makes it so much more interesting.
What was your first camera? Did you get a camera when you were a kid?
Yeah. What happened when I was growing up, we actually had a dark room in our house as a kid growing up. Yeah. My mom was a photographer, not a professional photographer, but anyway, she used to go to Europe every year and she'd take a little Nikon and she'd go and take all these pictures, bring them back after a trip, develop her own film in a dark room in our garage, make prints and everything. Cool. So I always, like, when I was super young, I always knew about photography. I could, you know, go in the dark room and develop film and all these things. So my mom gave me her Nikon. She kind of moved up. She went on to a Leica. It's a much quieter camera. Anyway, so she gave me her Nikon, and that's what kind of started.
What did you shoot?
you know, I had this really pretty girlfriend, you know? So you just take pictures.
That'll do it.
Usually for a lot of photographers, it all starts kind of like, you know, with taking pictures of the girl.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of started it. But really what happened with photography in me is I always knew how to take pictures and knew how to be a photographer. And it was kind of like, it was a way to try to like get into the entertainment business in some way.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I grew up, you know, in Laurel Canyon and around people that were in the entertainment business. And at a certain point in my life, I kind of decided, you know what, that's the business I want to be in.
Yeah.
Photography was kind of like, in a way, it was the easiest route for me.
Yeah.
You know, I already knew I knew how to do it.
Did you do a lot of kind of creating the theatre? Were there themes in your work that were like more fantastical or?
You know, later on in my photography, I really got into it in a technical way. And I really loved to do beauty lighting. I loved to like really work the technique and be great at the lighting.
Yeah.
This is a very kind of like a Los Angeles thing. People in LA, it's all aesthetic and the technique and the process, you know. We're not as like socially and as enriched as, you know, the New Yorkers. It's more the narrative. They work on the story and the narrative.
I think there's a time and a place for each of those things. Were you looking up what work other photographers were doing, or did you have other inspirations?
Yeah, I used to look at Helmut Newton. That was like the god. Helmut Newton was like the inspiration.
Yeah.
There was a time also where Herb Ritz was kind of like coming up and like really just being, you know, like the biggest kind of like photographer.
Yeah.
For a while there, LA was, for photography, wasn't so much considered as like a photography town. People would come here, shoot commercials, and this is where a lot of directors came from. Really, the photographers were coming out of New York or Europe.
How did you go from being a kind of excited photographer into setting up Milk?
What happened was I was a photographer in LA.
Yeah.
I was shooting fashion.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought I was like this Mr. Fashion photographer. I thought I was kind of like a hot shot because there weren't really fashion photographers so much here. There were more like celebrity photographers.
Yeah.
So I went to New York, you know, thinking, all right, look, I'm going to make it.
This is it.
I'm going to make it in New York. I'm going to be a fashion photographer.
Yeah.
You know, I had this 10-page story in Spanish Vogue.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to take my fashion story and I'm going to make it. The first day, the first night I get to New York, I'm having dinner on 6th Avenue at Bar PT, and I meet this guy. His name's Mazdak Rossi. And he tells me, hey, I'm opening up a photo studio. And I'm like, well, I'm a photographer. So he shows me this big, huge building in the meatpacking.
Yeah.
And this is when the meatpacking area was just...
Packing meat. That's it.
Yeah, they were packing meat. I mean, blood in the streets, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of like was, you know, trying to give him some advice about, you know, how to design a photo studio.
Yeah.
Because I'd been around photography at that point when I moved to New York for a long time. So we kind of like laid out this studio in this incredible building, and he really ran with it. He ran with the studio and opened Milk Studios in New York.
Yeah.
For 10 years. I ended up, my photography dreams in New York were shattered. I ran back to LA.
Yeah.
And took pictures there. What happened was I really fell into photography.
Yeah.
Like kind of like by default.
Yeah.
You know, it's because I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I knew how to do it. What I really wanted to do, my dream was always to be in hospitality.
Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to be the guy at a restaurant, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted to be the guy that says, you know, hey, I've got your table ready, you know, come on
Yeah,
in,
the guy.
You know? Like, I wanted to be the man.
Yeah.
So anyways, what I didn't realize at the time when I met Rossi, who started the first Milk, what I didn't realize that we were going to do a Milk Studios in LA 10 years later. And that's really kind of like how it came to fruition. You know, Milk Studios in New York, he was big on the culture. It's not about a photo studio. It's about the culture of the people that work there.
Yeah.
This was really his magic. I'm from LA. I'm like, you know what? I'm about luxury, service. I always wanted to be in hospitality. That was really kind of my dream. And growing up here also, I understood people in the entertainment industry. I really understood what celebrities like. Through being a photographer, I knew what the photographer likes. I really understood all the little nuances of people that work on this. My journey to New York really became an opportunity.
Yeah.
Which that's what New York usually does end up being for the studio here in LA.
Milk is a lot more than just a studio space. Can you just talk about the other creative endeavors that happen there?
Milk has a whole, we have a creative agency that's all part of it. And we have all these other services that are all related to photography and film and cinema, and things kind of change, you know? People aren't just taking, a still picture like they were when we started.
Yeah.
People have so many different needs for all different medias and everything. We're providing this incredible environment, kind of like, I always, kind of call it like the most beautiful blank canvas.
Yeah.
We want to have a place that encourages people's creativity, but also it's very delicate. I don't want to encroach my own creativity and my own influence on them, because they need a place where they can actually, think.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I say, look, we don't want too many, this is not a forest.
What does that mean?
It's like a forest has all these trees,
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to keep the trees cut down,
Yeah.
Things have to be a little bit more open so people kind of can bring in their creative ideas. You have to take into consideration all the people that work there. It used to be, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, the photographer was God and a photo studio was made for the photographer.
Yeah.
Now with everything being so kind of like things are talent driven. We have people that come and they shoot, they shoot at Milk. They live in a beautiful house up in Bel Air or something. They come down there to shoot. They shouldn't be sitting at a table with a bunch of, these light bulbs, kind of like a makeup counter with light bulbs screwed into it. They just left their beautiful house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not just give them a gorgeous makeup counter where they can just feel at ease and they can feel like, this is what I'm used to. I just left my house.
Yeah.
And now I'm here working. And guess what? It's exactly at the same level.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're trying to do at all the different levels.
Yeah.
For all the different, the makeup artist, the photographer, the photo assistant, the digital tech, everyone is supposed to feel like, hey, I've arrived. This place is as professional as I am. It's supposed to be uplifting.
So just tell me a bit about the culture at Milk, because I've heard it's...
The culture is everything in Milk. It really, when it first started as a photo studio, we didn't have the biggest space. We were in a building on the 8th floor. For photographers, it wasn't considered to be the best place. So the way we won people over is through our culture. And we were like, we got to be with the cool kids.
Yeah.
This has to be like, have a sense of family, a sense of community. The people that work there, they need to feel like they're part of a family and a community.
Yeah.
We really didn't focus on photography and a studio. It was really all about the culture of it. We were into like snowboard culture, skate culture, all these different, things. We were into, it was more about, a jam room and having fun and just kind of like developing a community. Now in LA, what happened was we had the space. So it became a different scenario.
Yeah.
So really what it was you didn't want someone to come over there and say, you know what? That's a beautiful space. You have the best place, but the people suck. So it was kind of like being the pretty girl and defending yourself, like you had to show personality. That was kind of like, you had to show people that, look, yes, the place is beautiful, but it's the people. We're smart, we're interesting, and we're great at our job.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the thing. It can't just be like, oh, look at the place, and that's it. So now, the biggest compliment that we get is when someone says, oh my God, I came to Milk, I shot there, it was amazing, and the place is great. And then they say, you know what? It's not the place. Guess what? Those people that we worked with, they were really the star. Anyways, culture is always number one.
Yeah. Can you tell us about any super exciting or fun events that you've had at Milk that stick out in your memory?
For a while I was doing, and I'm going to do one soon, I was doing all these incredible dinners with Olivier Zam, who owns Purple Magazine. And we were doing these dinners with a table of 50 people. And him and I just became like, it's like the greatest partnership.
Yeah.
It turns out that we have like a similar, our parents are very similar. I grew up, my parents were philosophers at a certain time, and he was telling me that when he was growing up, that his parents were philosophers also. And the way him and I look at curating people and putting different people together, it's incredible. We just look at things the same way. You know, it's not so much, let's just get the fabulous people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know what's fabulous? Putting everyone together.
Yeah.
Him and I together have had these like amazing dinners that have turned into parties and things. And then at Milk, you know, we've had performances, Alicia Keys, you know, we had Diana Ross perform there one time. I mean, we've had a lot of marks. We had, you know, Kanye West one time, he at the last minute, he decides to do his Sunday service at Milk.
Wow.
You know, he's very good friends with one of the owners. And it was just, you know, have been a lot of magical moments.
Phenomenal.
You know, and I can remember, you know, one of my dear friends, Wes Slang, he's a really great artist. So we decided we're going to do an exhibition of his work. Yeah. You know, and we're going to do it outside. We have this big travertine plaza. So we decide, okay, we're gonna show his work. But you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna put some nails in the travertine and just throw up his paintings. Something totally different. We're not showing art like you would show it in a gallery. Yeah. So anyways, it was incredible. We had people, you know, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they show up to this little art thing we have, but they show up, it's like it's date night. Yeah. You know, date night at Milk.
Date night at Milk with Beyonce and Jay-Z. So just tell me about what of your personality traits have helped you get where you are today?
Okay, let's see. Personality traits. I mean, I don't have a personality. I don't know. I mean, it's just humor. I love people. I don't know. Yeah. It's just this kind of like, this LA kind of, you know, I'm just a happy person. Yeah. I don't know. I really, truly love people.
You do seem to have like a lust for life.
Yeah. and it's probably, you know, I don't know, a charmed upbringing or something. It just really has kind of like got me through things.
Yeah, but I think there's something about being a true Angelino. Yeah. It's like it's in your bones.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, you know, when I talk to people that aren't from here, they always tell me, like, you know, you just don't look at things the way the rest of people really do. You're kind of a little, you know, la-la. You're, you know.
You are the la-la in La-La Land.
Too happy. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, but
you're just, everything is very, like, as a matter of fact. You're not impressed, you know, or something. I don't know. I mean... You know what? An anecdote that somebody told me that I was thinking about. One time I was at a dinner, and there was a woman. I was at a dinner at this place called Morton's. It was a famous celebrity hangout. It's where they actually had the Vanity Fair party when it was like a really big deal. Yeah. So anyways, I'm there at a big dinner, and there's a woman, Suzanne DePass. Suzanne DePass was an A&R person. She used to work with Berry Gordy. And she worked with the Jacksons, with all the Motown artists. And then she moved on and she became this huge television producer. I think I was in my 20s. I'm at this dinner table and, you know, like a lot of 20-year-olds, I was very confident and very judgmental. And I was making some judgmental comments. And she just looked at me, you know, table of 15 people. I'm the least important person at the table. And she just looks at me and she just says, Willie, you know, calls me out across the table and says, you know, the universe does not respond to negative things. It only responds to positive things. Always be positive. I mean, the woman called me out. I'm telling you the story. This is a long time ago. Yeah. And you know what? I think she's right. Yeah. You know, so.
But I can feel that in your answers. You're like, this is we're sunny side up.
Yeah.
Has there been any obstacles on your path that have taught you a lesson?
Any obstacles?
Yeah, what obstacles have you overcome?
Just I look at things in such a selective way, you know, always look at things positive, you know? Yeah. I mean, I arrived to New York to be a photographer. I thought I was, you know, gonna you know, take it by storm, you know, and I'm sitting there and, you know, I've got these pictures of these beauty pictures. And meanwhile, like everyone's taking these photographs that are like, at that time it was like heroin chic was the style that people were doing. And I was like, this is not working right here. But I meet these people and we end up doing a whole project, you know, the Milk Studios so much later. So I always just look at like, you never really know what opportunities are right there.
Yeah.
You know, it may seem like there's something that's kind of like shooting you down, but there's something else that's right in front of you.
Was the hardest part of your career when you realized that the kind of photographer you were wasn't,
for sure,
rippling out in the way you wanted it to?
It was frustrating. You know, you don't know. Like, you're asking yourself, do you do what you do?
Yeah.
Do you change?
Do
You
you
know,
start doing
I think that's something that like people ask themselves all the time. Do I just be myself?
Yeah.
Or do I change? That's a big one.
Yeah.
I say be yourself, you know. Let the world change around. Let the world change around you. You know,
I don't.
Just be patient.
Yeah, well, I just think there's one of those things that it's like you want to be able to adapt without losing yourself.
Yeah. When you're working and you're working within your passion of what you really want to do, that's how you're going to be the best.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really be that great if you're not that passionate about something.
That's cool. Speaking of your own photography, is there an image that you shot that you still love?
I used to shoot at this airport that I used to take all these like very like kind of like post, you know, very modern photographs. It wasn't just any one image. It was like kind of like a series of photos that I was kind of like known for that I really like. I used to at one time, I used to be the photographer for the Jackson family.
Did you?
Yeah. And, you know, I used to take all these different pictures of them and stuff. And it was around like a really interesting time. And there was definitely some pictures of Michael Jackson that I shot that were incredible. And just, you know, it was kind of like around some things that I thought were interesting.
Do you have a lot of your prints up at home?
My house is all the artist photography, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's not my photography.
Interesting.
It's actually other photographers, and I know all of them, and I kind of have a thing about art, you know? A lot of times I always like to kind of like really love the artist.
Yeah.
You know? So when I look at the picture, I kind of like, or I look at the art, I always see kind of like, I always see beyond the art.
Yeah.
You know, and it reminds me of the person also.
What do you think of the kind of next generation of photographers coming up?
They're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the next generation of people, and just, you know, I think they're just better than all of us. With photography, I don't know if all of them work as hard as you know, the old school guys shooting on film, you know, just a lot of the young ones, you know, they're thinking a lot more of, you know, what they're taking a picture of and not all the technique.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, they have the luxury. They've got an iPhone. They've got, all, you know, but a lot of it's coming back. A lot of the new, younger generation of photographers, they're starting to use film.
Yeah.
You know, so things are definitely changing.
Do you think that's good that things are back to more sort of analog ways of seeing?
I think it's good because it slows the process down. And when you slow the process down, a lot of times you make people think about what they're actually saying and doing. And then things don't become so instant, you know? I think in the long run that I think they're going to get longer lasting images.
Yeah. I assume you notice more when you slow down.
Yeah.
Who are some of the most interesting people you've met on your journey? Are there any standout stories?
There's a photographer named Jeff Wall who's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And
I'm a huge fan of Jeff Wall.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't have any in my house.
Yeah,
Sadly.
you don't have a light box, sitting up there, you know. Yeah. Anyways, he really made an impact on me and everything, you know, and just, you know, because I respect him as a photographer. And I remember he did a shoot out here, you know, and I was helping him with certain things and everything. And he just, you know, he says to me, he goes, you know, the magic of milk. And I'm like, did Jeff Wall just tell me that we're magical? You know, I'm like, that is just beyond a compliment coming from him.
I mean, truly. And what's next for Milk? What's the future?
We have a brand new studio that we're opening, and it's going to be twice as impressive as LA, and it's going to be in New York.
Great.
And you know, it's going to have It's going to have a lot of things like more sound stages. And, we notice that this whole business is kind of, it's changing. Motion is such a large part of it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to, favor more cinema and all these types of things.
On that note, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Boss with your host, that's me, Raven Smith. If you want to find out more about what it takes to be a boss and the stories behind the inspirational figures of today, new episodes of this podcast are out every 2 weeks. Make sure to tune in.